Hey, nice little run here from the Panthers. It's Carey Jr. with the.
Is that going to count?
Right. I haven't got a script for this, but since this is going a little bit on a different tangent, because I guess it is sort of a developing story, and when I mean developing story, I guess it's sort of come up. I've sort of been following the New Zealand National Basketball League. I love my sport, and it is a very underrated league. Look, it's not the NBA, but there are certain things that I like about it. Look, it's more ground. It's more the basket. You obviously you don't have the multi-million, $1 million basketballers, or that you see in the NBA or even in the European leagues. This is like grassroots basketball as we used to know it. As good defense, attacking, I guess sort of on par with maybe college NCAA division Div 1, well, actually maybe not Div 1, maybe Div 2 basketball. It's very community based. It's played across the country. It's sort of like the equivalent to rugby's NPC. You've got there's my team's the Otago Nuggets. Obviously, if you cut me, I bleed blue and gold. But there's also there's the Auckland Tuatara, who are actually spun off from the namesake baseball team that's now defunct. Canterbury Rams, they've been around for ages. Probably one of the most successful teams. There is another team. I guess, do you call Pukekohe is sort of the greater Auckland region? So the Franklin Bulls, you got the Hawke's Bay Hawks, Manawatu Jets, you can figure the names, Nelson Giants, Southland Sharks, Taranaki Airs, Tauranga Whai, which one of the newer teams, and of course the Wellington Saints, who have certainly, they along with the Hawks, Rams, Jets, Giants, they've been around the longest. Saints probably one of, if not the most successful teams in the NBL. In fact, the Australian basketball fans might have heard about the Wellington Saints because there's talk that they wanted to, join the Australian NBL and become the second New Zealand team, along with the New Zealand Breakers. But yeah, so in recent times it's certainly been a good competition, but still heavily, really. In terms of finances, it's still, it really having to innovate to, just to survive, particularly when, against rugby. And that brings me, of course, there's a team that I didn't mention there. It's the Indian Panthers, who are the newest team in the New Zealand NBL. And, they were accepted on the 30th of October. For a bit of background here, and I'm trying not to read off a Wikipedia article, the Indian Panthers are essentially a Indian professional basketball team, based in New Zealand. It was in fact a collaboration with the Indian INBL Pro, that's the Indian basketball league over there. Think of it as like the Sunwolves. You remember the Sunwolves from Super Rugby when it was just pretty much a Japanese, and ended up being a New Zealand, Australian, Japanese barbars team. So the Indian Panthers, this is what the idea was. I imagine, obviously India, there is a lot more money over there. Not sure how much it is in basketball, so compare not cricket. And it was sort of obviously, I imagine Indian basketball is not particularly great, so it was kind of like seen as an opportunity for in basketball to grow in India. Also a chance, to have this team that was going to be based in South Auckland, Takanini, in fact, where there's a massive Indian migrant population there. And of course, we're not going just India, so, I guess you think Fiji as well. So, look, in essence, the concept is, it's an interesting idea. It's one that could be positive. Obviously, you'd think, would it make sense to have essentially an Indian-based team and competing in New Zealand, effectively, would absolutely look. I am pretty sure there'll be no. I would be so surprised unless there were real people heavily involved in the Indian basketball scene. They will not. People in India would not have even heard that their country has a professional basketball team playing in New Zealand and based in New Zealand. So anyway, we skip on. So yeah, look, teams set up. Obviously, trying to get players from India. They needed to get work visas. These were delayed, and so yeah, you can see why this is sort of a story that's been developing. The NBL has a pre-season tournament every year before the season starts in March, and yeah, look, the Panthers had to pull out of that. And then 2 days before their season opener, which was against the Hawke's Bay Hawks, they, because you wouldn't believe this, they actually they were not able to access any players who had been selected for this Indian national team camp. So as a result, the so-called Indian Panthers had a mostly New Zealand playing roster. I imagine these were just part-timers, your carpenter who love playing basketball part-time, and yeah, they had this New Zealand roster there. If you look up Wikipedia, look, I'm not going to waste my time here because Leon Henry did play in the NBL for the Breakers. Do you remember him? Sort of a bit of a, he's getting on a bit of a, he's been around the traps for a bit. So they played their game on the 12th March 2025, lost 112-78 to the Hawke's Bay Hawks, and after that, head coach Miles Pierce stepped down, and it was replaced by interim coach Jonathan Goodman, who, he is still the coach as far as I'm aware. They played a couple of games in Takanini at the Pullman Arena in Takanini. I think it's something to do with Pullman Hotels. I believe they have managed to get their Indian base players over, but look, the results, I don't believe they've won a game. I've got to check the New Zealand NBL letter again, but we come to 29th April. They were meant to play a game against the Canterbury Rams. Canterbury Rams, of course, are top of the New Zealand NBL. They have been on a pretty good run of form. And now the NBL has started playing rapid league game. They have like a rapid league appetizer game, which is just I don't know how to describe it. It's just like, I don't know. It's not even 2020 basketball, but they have this quick game, and then they have the regular. Then they play the normal NBL game. So that rapid league game was meant to kick off. I think it was 5 p.m. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because, according to the Canterbury Rams Facebook page, there were traffic issues in Auckland, so the players couldn't get there. Which, only in New Zealand, and of course, which is crazy thing in India, a country known for its traffic issues. Yet, in New Zealand, I know it can be pretty horrendous getting from central Auckland to Takanini, but how many players are based in central Auckland and you go to Takanini? In any case, it just felt something was a bit off. And then, of course, sure enough, we figured this game was not the regular season game was not going to go. And surprised, there's no one surprised. A statement came out saying that the Indian Panthers were unable to field a team to play the Canterbury Rams, and the game has been cancelled, with a further statement to come from New Zealand NBL the following day. Today is the 30th of April, and as of the time of recording of this video, there still has not been a statement by the NZNBL on what has happened. I've gone on the website. They have actually disabled comments across the official New Zealand National Basketball League, which it does not look good. There's not really been any statements. We've had, there has, on Legend of Marty Banks, that we've had a statement from one of the players. It was on their Instagram stories page. It's from Don Alex Robinson, who, he's, in short, it's that he's kind of outlined that there's been a issue where payments promised to players have not been fulfilled. if there was someone like Giannis or Luka Doncic, or this is not a big matter. While it is a pain, those guys aren't gonna, have nothing to put on the plate for dinner tonight. By contrast, look, this is obviously a very serious issue. You expect to get paid. These guys, they don't, they could have other trades, but they chose to pursue their passion for playing professional basketball, and they've put their family. They've had to put, they've kind of had to sacrifice a stable income, and putting food and paying bills for their families, their kids. So yeah, it's certainly a horrendous situation. And look, it is something. Unfortunately, New Zealand. I'm going to put it kind of short. New Zealand, but the NBL is just, or basketball New Zealand. Look, they've not really. It's a stain that I think is going to take very, very difficult to remove. Look, in the first place, if we're seeing what's transpired of the Indian Panthers. I don't know what it was put up back in 2024 to give them an expansion team, or what was put on, but as it's transpired, it's turned out to be an absolute calamitous decision. Look, we've seen various, and it's not, look, I know the NBL has seen a lot of teams come and go for financial reasons. Your Tiger Nuggets a long time ago were a basket case, but certainly to see this sort of ineptitude is just, it's not great for a professional basketball league or any sports organization. So the Indian Panthers, I guess, I think that it wouldn't surprise me if they're thrown out. I think this certainly has put the sport in disrepute, and it's just a shame because you see the likes of the Canterbury Rams, the Tiger Nuggets, Wellington Saints, they're pumping up the crowds. And look, I get it, they're not getting the same level of attention as, the rugby players, the league, eventually when the NZ Netball Premiership starts, but it is a league that is doing well, and it seems to have found its feet after a couple of fallow years. And yeah, so something like this to happen is really, really disappointing. And yeah, just look, the NBL is going to continue despite this. Whether it is with the Indian Panthers, probably not going to be with the Indian Panthers, but yeah, it is certainly a disgraceful episode for New Zealand sport. And and hopefully it gets resolved. The players hopefully New Zealand NBL steps in to compensate the players who play games in some form or fashion. It's not going to be to the levels that perhaps you were promised, but yeah, I think it is just embarrassing that, in this age that you have these basketballers having to rely on wins and all that when, during these tough times. So yeah, so that is the story of the Indian Panthers, and hopefully this gets out to some basketball fans. Look, I know it's NBA playoffs, so yeah, fingers crossed. But if you like to share your thoughts on the story, let me know and put it in the comments. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe.